Canada has already announced retaliatory measures with tariffs on $155 billion of goods, U.S. goods, including food, alcohol, consumer products, and materials. Joining us now, we've got Terry Haines, Pangea policy founder here. And Terry, I guess that's, of course, the crux of this. It doesn't just come down to what the U.S. is imposing, but also what is retaliatory and the scale of that as well. I would like to get kind of your gamesmanship as to how this plays out from this jumping off point.
My gamesmanship, Brad. Good morning. My gamesmanship, generally speaking, is that Trump judges this as being an advantageous time to pursue what I think of as geopolitical goals, including getting Canada's and Mexico's help to seal the border and to stop the flow of fentanyl into the United States. So those, and beyond that, there's a situation where he's interested in balancing trade a little bit more. A lot of my Canadian sources say that, not only do they say that it's a advantageous time for the United States, but point out that that Canada really can't withstand in the long term a sustained tariff regime. So I imagine what we get here is possibly some mitigation of the tariffs if Canada and Mexico come up with more specific ways in which they can help the United States achieve its goals on border and fentanyl.
Jerry, the market sell-off, similar to the one that we're seeing here ahead of the bell this morning, is that going to be something that will be enough to get Trump to back off?
No, absolutely not, Seana, and good morning. The way Trump looks at this, I think, based on his statements and public statements of him and the administration, and his experience post-2016, is that the markets are with him on a lot of what he wants to do on economic policy. So a small downturn isn't going to bother him. You got to remember that tariffs are part of a much broader economic policy, the vast majority of which markets are really hungering to get, whether it be tax cuts, whether it be increased energy production, regulatory reduction, spending cuts, all those sorts of things. Tariffs as in a silo looks like a downturn. Tariffs, the way that Trump and his folks see it, as part of that broader economic policy, I think is they see as markets plus, and I think markets do too.
Terry, how do you see the negotiations right now playing out behind the scenes? Obviously, Canada has already said they plan to retaliate here. Trump administration's figuring out exactly what that tariff strategy looks like here as we do approach midnight. What do you think those conversations are like, just given the fact that we have gotten some conflicting messages when it comes to the belief, I think we can say, in tariffs from the Trump administration?
My instinct is that what the United States will want are very specific pledges from Canada and Mexico about what they're willing to do to help seal the border and close off the flow of illegal drugs, and need to back that up as well with an awful lot of specifics, including resources, manpower, and the like. The more specific they get, the more likely Trump is to be satisfied. I will say also, though, to Rick's point earlier, that I think, and this is instinct on my part, but I think Trump probably decides to keep them on the string. In other words, lessen the tariffs, but not eliminate them entirely. As I say, you got to understand that tariffs for markets is a much bigger part of both economic policy and of geopolitics, that markets have successfully avoided having to think about that much recently, and they're going to have to start thinking about it a lot more.
Terry, we only have 30 seconds, but you've got some souring opinions on Wall Street now. Big banks trying to figure out how friendly or foe-ish Trump is to business. Is he business unfriendly if tariffs continue to move forward at the velocity that, again, we're just weeks into the presidency, at the velocity that we've heard them be talked about and prioritized?
Well, Trump would say he's not, that he's the farthest thing from it. I'd certainly no Trump apologist, but I would tend to agree with that by and large. What the vast majority of what Trump's trying to do, which I described to Seana a minute ago, is very business friendly, and business sees it that way. So I doubt that sentiment's going to turn wholly against Trump on this.
All right, Terry, always great to get your insight. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us here this morning.